Oh, I see smoke. I see smoke. Something happened. All right, so let's let out the magic smoke. Okay, in this video, we learned a lot. It's a good one, but hello and thank you for joining Celyna and I in our 5th and final episode of getting her Swapmeet small block Chevy completely overhauled and ready for her 32 Ford Roadster. But before we get to this stage, we had to finish the build and deal with a few headaches along the way. Let's get started. All right, so before we drop the distributor in, I went ahead and just put the #1 piston to top dead center. This isn't going to be a video about how to set timing or anything, but in short, 4-stroke motors, one of the biggest mistakes that most people make is that they put it at top dead center, but on the wrong stroke. It needs to be on the compression stroke when it's actually getting ready to ignite all that fuel. You do that by either plugging up the spark plug hole and feeling it blow towards you. What I just did is I just used my old harmonic balancer, some 2 bolts, used some leverage there, and I spun this clockwise until both of these were closed, and I can visually see that the piston's at top dead center. That is pretty much guaranteed because this line, which is your timing line, lined up perfectly right in that area where it needs to be. So now I can set the distributor. Crazy mutts running. Keep going. As I'm setting in this distributor, I will give you guys a quick tip, and I'm pointing right in this direction towards the #1. That is the proper way of setting it. If I were to point this 180 degrees back, make this my #1, and keep going in the firing order, the motor's going to run just fine. But the problem is then you'll have a bird's nest of spark plug wires crossing each other and looking very sloppy. So by putting this pointing towards #1, I'll show you on my card right now how organized your spark plug wires will be. If you look here, this is my #1, and you can see this is the way that spark plugs were meant to be run through GM. So just a quick little tip. It's not going to make your engine run worse or better, but that's why spark plug wires, especially if you buy them pre-cut, they're always a pain to try to figure out because the distributor's set wrong. All right, so full disclosure, we're not running any gaskets because these are not the final headers. This is just to get the motor running. But we want to make spark plug wires today. I'm just going to be running some kind of special header in the future, so these will be good for running and for Mockup. Deuce agrees. like I mentioned, these are just for mock-up. After a little convincing, that tube's not going to flow as well, but it clears now. I'd rather ruin a $20 set of headers versus a brand new engine stand. So. All right, so a wise man once told me that when you're 90% done, you still have 90% left to go. And that certainly feels like the case right now. So up next is we got to make a distributor or a coil wire. We have to install the valve covers, the carburetor, make a fuel line. I need to wire up the distributor, a bunch of other little knick-knack things before we can hit the starter on this thing, which is a really cool box I'm going to show you, and hopefully have this thing fire up. Just discovered that those carburetor studs are too long, and since we don't need an adapter, let's switch them now because that will affect our fuel line.
Oh, there's a spider. Die. I got him. Alright, so we had to do a lot of this off camera. because Brian was teaching me because I've never used a lot of these tools, but we got most of the fuel line done. We are doing the last flare right now. We figured we'd show you at least the last little bit. Ta-da! Flare it. Flare it good. Okay. We did it! Yeah! We did it!
All right, up next, install the collectors, some downpipes, some cheap mufflers. I think we're getting really close. All right, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself because valve covers aren't even bolted down yet. But once that's done, check this out. I think we're in business. Wouldn't be hot rodding. It didn't require a little bit of modification. Oh, just like that. Drop that in there. Can't forget the oil. This is truly what took us forever. Check this out. What I made here is just kind of some handy little portable little start box. Plug these into the powers. Once I do this, you'll see that my gauges have lit up and I should have power. Now, time to plug in the rest of the engine. This is for the coil. Starter solenoid. Last but not least, this. So sorry guys, we lost audio for a second, but here I'm noticing that the carburetor is toilet bowling itself. And what that means, the floats are likely not set properly, so fuel just continues to pour down the carburetor. But it's not that big of a deal. I start off by removing, the fuel line, because I really want to remove the top cap of this carburetor. Remove all the screws, do linkages, and as you open this up, this is where you'll see the issue. If you never dealt with Edelbrox, they're very simple, especially to understand. You can see that the floats are touching the bottom but not closing the fuel supply. So, not a big deal. I adjusted it, and here we go. All right, so definitely one issue at a time. I don't think we're getting spark, but the carburetor, the carburetor was definitely toilet bowling itself. The floats were completely collapsed and still weren't touching. They weren't closing the actual fuel supply. So now we're good. We set that right at about 7/16 where it needs to, and then the float drop is at about an inch. So install this back and give it another try. I'm going to test for spark. Still no spark. Oh, I see smoke, Something happened. Burned up something. Alright, so let's let out the magic smoke. Something burned up. Total bummer.
We're back. Hopefully one of these is going to be the winner today, and we're going to see it run.
All right, so after admitting defeat last night, I took it apart, and we'll zoom in real quick here. This somehow let out the smoke. What was really weird is I went on Amazon to try to find parts, could not find this at all, and then made me wonder because I saw this. And I'm pretty sure this is just a fake China knockoff, because then I opened my Mallory distributor and it looked completely different inside. I had this one already for parts, but unfortunately didn't have anything there. But thankfully, we're back from Pomona Swapmeet and we found a few options. So we have a backup and these look to be legit. So hopefully this is the key. All right, so we got it cleaned up good enough, but now it's time to update this connector because I don't have the other pigtail, but that's all right. All right, out with the old, in with the new. The rotor isn't lining up the way it was. It wants to line up right around here. So I'm just gonna check against the China one to see how the rotor's facing, because we might need to set the engine timing again at top dead center. So as you can see, both keyways, if you go on the other side, the rotors are completely different. Going 180 degrees is certainly not going to help anything, so time to reset the motor at top dead center. Alright, let's see if we have better luck this time. And now I want this rotor facing the number 1 piston, or at least close to it. Moving around the teeth a little bit. Here we go. So that's pretty good. Now this cap, once it goes on, which honestly I'm not even going to use this cap since it's the China cap.
Bam. New distributor ready.
Alright, sugar be rolling. Alright.
Ready?
Let's do it. Here goes nothing.
Alright.
Find the hole. Bada bing, bada boom.
Hell yeah.
Good job, baby. Fire right up. China distributors. Boo. Do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe. I have to say it. Big milestone today. We'll see you guys in the next one.